Oh, hi, it's your old buddy Zoo here, and I got a weird box in the mail today from Stubbs. It has these two ETs in it. I'm gonna save those for later. And the star of the show was my Helegaly Hero Legend Game Ally. Of course, we all know Helegaly from their previous releases of, I guess this is their first one. It is the Helegaly Pi. And there's not a Raspberry Pi in there. There's not an Apple Pi in there either. It's the Allwinner A527. So we have ourselves a powerful chip in a budget device. This is around 60 bucks-ish. And we're going to see exactly what makes this tick. Our friend Ban already unboxed his, so I'm not going to bother you with what it looks like coming out of the box. This is going to be more of an actual review. Heck, we might even tear this thing apart to see if the Wi-Fi chip is in there. So stay tuned, tuck in, and we'll just see what we got together. You and me, your best friend Zoo, the only one you can trust. Everyone else is lying to you. Gary, put the specs on the screen as I give you the grand tour. So this is the black model. It also comes in a purple model and a white model, and they're all beautiful. I like this one. It has kind of a, I don't know, like a retro Batman, like a 1989 Batman feel to it. Pretty cool. The plastic itself has a pretty decent feel to it. It doesn't feel cheap. There's no texture on the back. There's a little bit of texture on the side here. I really would have liked to see some sort of texture on the back because it is kind of slippy, and there's nothing there. There's no branding or battery. This does have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. We're going to talk about that later, but that's pretty good for what you're getting here. It has two Hall sticks. They're recessed. They have a relatively good range of motion. Can't complain about it. The buttons all feel good. D-pad's not too bad. L and R, pretty clicky. Otherwise, everything else is pretty quiet and pretty good. We'll go over the D-pad a little bit more. It's not hyper precise, but it's not super wobbly either. It's kind of the best of both worlds, in my opinion. And it's not one where I've really noticed a ton of false inputs. See what we got on top. You got your shoulder buttons and your triggers. Again, L1 and R1 are very loud. You have your power, your home button, your volume up and down in the right orientation, HDMI out, little exhaust fan. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe through these speaker grills on the bottom. Downward firing speakers right here. You have a power port, USB-C, a data port that's USB-C as well. Headphone jack on the bottom, I like that. And one SD card slot, even though it says TFOS, as if there was TF games. It's just the one. Otherwise, very compact, very nice, very, not premium, but doesn't feel cheap. I like it. This has a nice ergonomic feel to it. Let's compare it to things. First off, I kind of want to compare it to this X35H, just because the shape is similar, the button placement and everything's kind of similar. Obviously a little smaller screen and a little smaller overall. And this was pretty ergonomic, but I gotta tell you, this Helegaly Pi, also very, very ergonomic. But yeah, this is kind of the closest you're gonna get, just an overall shape and weirdness level, I guess, in that it's not kind of a usual shape. Get out of here, Pow Kitty. Screen's obviously a lot smaller, but it has some similarities with this Pow Kitty X55 as well. Compare this with the RP2S. This is definitely blocky. It's a little bit more powerful than this, but it's not as ergonomic. And then I guess another really good comparison, this is the 406H. This is an Amberneck model. It's way more powerful than this. It came out the end of last year. I don't know that I've actually done a dedicated review on this. I probably should get on top of that. But this is, they say, the same screen. And you can see there, it looks about the same size. And if it is indeed the same screen, we're in for a treat because this sucker and the 406V both had very, very nice IPS screens. Oh yeah, and then price. This thing is going to come in around $60, give or take, depending on where it goes on sale. And of course, if there are tariff problems with it. And that's actually a really, really decent price for what you're getting with the A527. We'll see how hard we can push it, but you should be able to handle a ton of PSP and Dreamcast and N64, way more than the A133 or the H700 line. But we'll see here. Even though this is a pre-production model, a very, very early pre-production model actually, there's not a lot weird about it. In fact, there's just one glaring issue, namely The Wi-Fi doesn't work. Now, we have been told it is an issue with the firmware, and it's going to be fixed by the time this goes on sale. But I've been lied to before. So we're going to pop this sucker open, do a real quick teardown, and look at the PCB to find out if the chip is actually there. So let's power it off real quick. Shut down. And while I'm opening this up to look at the PCB, how about you listen to me talk about PCBWay, huh? PCBWay is a one-stop shop for all your PCB needs, obviously. But they also offer 3D printing, CNC milling, and injection molding. That's right, you could conceivably build an entire retro handheld by yourself on that site. There's also tons of user-created items available on PCBWay, if that's your jam, including this fully open-source N64 flash cart, designed by some absolute Chad from Poland. Look at this thing. You can make your own EverDrive. That's amazing! Anyway, if you've got any interest in building or modding retro handhelds instead of just playing them, be sure to check out PCBWay today. This is actually kind of a unique trigger design here. There's this membrane, and when you lean back on it, it clicks that button. That's pretty cool. And there's the Hall sticks. There's the dual firing speakers. Pretty neat. I think that's the Wi-Fi chip. Not 100% sure. I'm going to have to go back and verify it when I look at what the chip's supposed to be. But I think that's it. And that's kind of neat. You can see the whole PCB. Oh, speaking of PCBWay, by the way, do you want me to do a modding video with them? They can make aluminum shells for handhelds as long as you have the CAD files. Let me know in the comments. Let's put this sucker back together. Click, 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 click. Click, click, click. Yay! Now, performance-wise, this does have the A527, and this sucker is going to play up to and including PSP, Dreamcast, and N64. And not like how the H700 line will play some of the games, this chip will play almost all of them really, really well. We'll get there, but here's a quick showcase of a bunch of other systems and how they look on this 4-inch screen. Now, the cool thing about these speakers is they're firing really low on the bottom, and there's like an echo chamber or something. Jeez. They get very loud, but they also create like a weird audio effect where it sounds like stereo around your ears. It's very weird. I don't know that I've ever encountered speakers on a handheld that give you that kind of just, I don't know, makes it feel like it's like to the side of you a little bit. It's odd. See if I can capture it. Can you like hear the Doppler effect a little bit? Oh well. I can't get over this screen. This is just a really, really good 4-inch screen. Get over here. Ow. Now with stuff with the Game Boy or Game Boy Color, you're going to have a little bit of letterboxing, but you're still using a ton of that screen, and it still looks really, really nice. Oh, by the way, running RetroArch behind this Batocera, you can add shaders. So let's add a really nice handheld one. I always like to use, where's it at? Handheld LCD 3X. We're going to save that to the core preset and back to the game. There you go. I can feel my rage. This kind of beats the 353P. I really like this screen and the form factor all rolled into one. And then for DS games that don't really use the bottom screen, man, this thing's amazing. Whoa, steady. There's a whole list of what I call Game Boy 2.0 games that this thing will probably dominate at. just because the size of the screen, the overall power to handle DS emulation, and the fact you don't really need that bottom screen. And if you really do, and you don't want to touch it, you just press this button. Well, you can't see what you're doing in that. You can use L2 and R2 to swap stuff around or swap screens. Get dunked on. Luigi, you stink. Let's just jump right in to Ghost of Sparta on the PSP here. Now this is running PPSSPP on the back end, so you can always just go and check out the settings there. Can you? Where are the settings? Here they are. Okay, important safety tip. Since Batocera isn't on the SD card, and since this OTG cord doesn't work for data, and since Wi-Fi isn't working, there is no way to your PPSSP settings if you're poking around and accidentally turn on Vulkan instead of OpenGL. It just won't load PSP games. You're not going to be able to play PSP games on here from that point forward. I should know better, but I did it anyway because I'm stupid. However, PSP does play pretty good on here, even with the 4:3 screen. So I made Ban capture some footage that you can see on the screen right now. Just don't mess with PPSSPP settings until there's a reliable way to fix it. Learn from Zoo's mistakes. Dang it. Moving on to Dreamcast here, it runs really, really well at 640p. Let's show you here. You go to Core Options, you go to Video, you're at 640 by 480 in RetroArch, and I mean you can play this just all day long. Let's get some volume going here. I actually was having so much fun playing Crazy Taxi on here that at a certain point I forgot that I was filming, and I had to like mentally tell myself, "Hey Zoo, get back to work." Burger King. Don't get all excited with this text on the screen. I turned on Batocera FPS because I couldn't figure out how to get the standalone emulator to display it. N64 on here is legitimately really good. I'm sure there are some games that'll chug, but my usual tester here, Cruising USA, is running at 100%, even upscaled 2x. It dips every now and again, but it's for the most part very, very stable. Whoa! Didn't like that car going upside down. Whoa! And again, that's 2x upscaled. You can always scale it down a little bit if it's giving you hiccups. Get dunked on, Russian. Hey. Precision here. Whoops. Dang it. Where are you coming from? I mean, this is basically how I played it on the real N64. Well, Gary, it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that coming in around $60 with a good screen, good buttons, good ergo, Hall sticks, and a decent OS, albeit one that doesn't, allow Wi-Fi to work at the moment, the Helegaly Pi is a really, really good entry-level budget type option. Now, you're not getting the variety of firmware you'd see on the Anbernic XX line, but you are getting way more power. And Batocera is a good firmware in its own right, so it's not like you're stuck with Powkitty OS right out of the box. Ugh. Now, this isn't the best version of Batocera there is, but if you don't mess it up like an absolute idiot, it works pretty well. Hell, it might not even be Batocera. I saw something in the folders on the SD card that referenced ArcOS. It's a mystery. The battery on this thing is elite. 5,000 milliamp hours, which is really good for a handheld like this. You're probably looking at a whole business day's worth of gaming, give or take an hour or so, depending on what systems you're playing. And it's got fast charging too, so it'll be back in the game after a half hour or so on the bench. All in all, this guy has a lot of bang for your buck, assuming that it ships with a functional Wi-Fi. For $60, you're getting superior performance to the XX line, a really nice 4-inch screen, an ergonomic shell with good buttons, and the potential for custom firmware, both Linux or Android implementations. Although there is no touch screen, so you probably have to use something like Gamma OS. Who knows, maybe the A527 will be the standard bearer for budget handhelds going forward. We've had the RK3266 and the 3566s dominating the lower end market for a while. Why not move on to something new and more powerful? Hey, if you thought this video was new and powerful, what? Then please like and subscribe and all that jazz. We're pushing close to 75K subscribers right now, and I want to hit 100,000 by the end of the year. I'll do a weird video, and maybe I'll buy myself an actual camera instead of an old phone that I use for the videos now. Wouldn't that be cool? Anyway, thanks for watching, and goodbye.